want to introduce to you one of the great legal minds of the 20th century, ladies and gentlemen, Alan Talbot.
Thank you, Dr. Noel. Well, Jimmy Cahn's story is a remarkable story, and you're about to hear it. I've had the pleasure of spending much time with him. He stayed at our house on 2 occasions. I hope he talks about La Risque. I don't see Jimmy here. Where is he? Jimmy Cahn. He had us play La Risque in 2007. I think it's the first time it was ever played in the United States. That's the game that Baba would play at Guru Prasad in the side room with the men, and the losers would have to rub their noses on the rug. Now, in 2007, my team won. I have no idea why we won. I have no idea today why we won. In 2014, when he was with us 6 months ago, my team lost, and I was able to rub my nose on the rug. And then I realized what a great benefit that was. So I thank Jimmy for being the La Risque man. He will tell you if he has to about that. It's a lovely story. He recently became a grandfather. Little Arnavas, 3 months old, so we have to congratulate him on that. So it's my great pleasure to introduce my dear, dear friend and my buddy, Jimmy Cahn.
Jai Baba. 6 months back, Noshuvan wrote to me if I could come over and be part of the speaking troupe. And I wrote to Noshuvan saying I have 20 hours of talk time with me. And he read 2 hours instead of 20 hours. So there I am, only for 2 hours with you, an hour today and an hour tomorrow. But for those who are going to be at Chicago the next weekend, over there I have much more time, so I'll be speaking much more over there. And for those who are coming at the Northeast Gathering the week thereafter, there I'm given 3 days to talk to. I have much more time over there. So those who are coming to Northeast, please understand that though it will be a repeat to a point, but I'll be talking much more. So do come to Chicago, do come to Northeast as well. I have short time, so we go right to the subject. I take you back in time zone, time machine, 1958. My father was 50, mom was 40, and the 3 of us siblings, we were not even teenagers. We were not even teenagers. My dad, after a week's sickness, he departs from this earth. Mom was only 40, as I said. The life around her crumbles. She is now single mother overnight. She has 3 young children to look after. The world crashes right under her feet. And there comes a family friend of our mom, and who tells mom, my mom's name Khorshid, tells the mom, Khorshid, come to Kamu Baba. He's a genuine saint. He will do you good. And in those days, we Parsis, I'm a Zoroastrian, like Maruk and Noshuvan. By the way, I wanted to start saying thank you to Noshuvan and Maruk for bringing me here. Maruk, thank you for bringing me here. Sorry, I skipped on that. Okay, so we come back. So this gentleman tells mom that you come to Kamu Baba. He's a genuine saint. He will do good to you. Mom had nothing to lose. So we go to this Kamu Baba, who was on the outskirts of Mumbai. Now, let me break here and tell you something about Kamu Baba. Roshan Kerawala was in Mumbai. She's originally from Pune, but for 2 years she was in Mumbai, and she would carry Kamu Baba's message to Meher Baba and Meher Baba's message to Kamu Baba. So Roshan Kerawala was a go-between kind of. And at one point in time, Kamu Baba requests Roshan to go over and tell Meher Baba to please relieve him of his duties. He was a tired man, he was an old man, and sure enough, within a couple of months, Kamu Baba was gone. So that's Kamu Baba for us. So on a Sunday morning, we go to the suburbs of Mumbai, Goregaon, at Kamu Baba's ashram. There's a long queue, and me, my sisters, and mom. And the moment Kamu Baba was sitting on a chair, mom is introduced to him, and Kamu Baba is asking mom, "What is it you're looking for? What do you want?" And normally people who would go to a saint would have some kind of an agenda, a materialistic agenda. But mom says, "Show me inner light. Give me inner knowledge." And I'm sure Kamu Baba must have been taken aback, because nobody would ask him for inner light and inner knowledge. So he asked my mom to bend down, and she bends down, and Kamu Baba runs his thumb. He runs his thumb. He does this to my mom. Now this is where your third eye is. Kamu Baba opened my mom's third eye. Now what is this third eye? What is this opening of the third eye? As I progress, you'll come to understand what that translates into. But that's that. Now this was just a one-off meeting with Kamu Baba. Thereafter, we never went to Kamu Baba. My mom had a friend, and you all know her. Her name was Rhoda Mistry, Rhoda G. Mistry. The lady was from Mumbai, originally Dada Chanji family. She grew as an infant, as a baby, as a young girl, as a Mir Baba lover, because she came from Dada Chanji family. So Rhoda Mistry would come to our house. Both the families are from Mumbai, and she would come to my mom, and she would talk from, let's say, 1:32 in the afternoon till 6 in the evening, non-stop talking about Meher Baba. And my mom was like a sponge. My mom took to Meher Baba and to spirituality like fish to water. And Rhoda Mistry would tell the whole of her life story with Meher Baba, the Dada Chanji clan's life story with Meher Baba. And this went on. She would bring a few photographs of Meher Baba, a few books on Meher Baba and by Meher Baba, and would give it to my mom to read, etc. My mom only knew Gujarati. That's the language we talked along with Meher Baba. But she didn't know English, and therefore, if Rhoda Mistry brought books which were in English, most of the books are in English, mom would ask the three of us to read that book and explain to her in Gujarati. So that's how it went on. And mom started meditating. She started meditating. She would close her eyes at our home. And this is what she had told me one of the days, that she would close her eyes and she would see Meher Baba as small as a matchbox and as large as a skyscraper. Got to imagine? This woman is seeing Meher Baba as small as a matchbox and as large as a skyscraper. In Indian Hindi, we call it Virat Swarup, which Lord Krishna showed to Arjuna, something like that. So this is what my mom saw of Meher Baba, and she started meditating. She would see more and more of Meher Baba. And then one of these days, Rhoda Mistry comes to my house and tells my mom that Khorshid, every summer we go to Pune and we stay there for a couple of months, and that is how we meet Meher Baba. Because from Merazat, from Ahmednagar, he comes to Pune for summer. So why don't you come with your kids and come over and you stay for the summer, and you'll be happy to meet Baba. He'll do a lot of good to you. So we fast forward. We are at Mobo's Hotel at Pune in the summer of 1960. I am 16-year-old. I'm a young man. And all the Dada Chanji family, the Parsis from Mumbai, there was this small hotel called Mobo's Hotel. Barely, let's say, 14 to 16 rooms, and each family took a room each. Now, this Mobo's Hotel was on Bun Garden Road, a leafy lane having just cottages on either side, like a boulevard, something like. And on the same pavement, just a block away is Guru Prasad. That is where Meher Baba came and stayed for the summer for 2-3 months. So in the evening, the very first evening, Rhoda Mistry takes us down the road 1 block away. We are outside Guru Prasad at the gate, and Rhoda is telling Mom, Kaushal, you see that edifice, you see that building in front? This is Guru Prasad, and Baba is in it, and you will meet Baba when we go there. So Mom knew, we knew where Guru Prasad was. The next day morning, or maybe the third day morning, all these families, Parsi families from Mobos Hotel, they are called to be part with Baba, to be with Baba at Guru Prasad. Now, how did it? Let me first explain how we went to Baba, how we met Baba. Every morning at at Mobos Hotel, all of us are ready. We're ready around 9:30, 10 in the morning, and not every day, but some of the days, maybe twice a week or thrice a week, there would be a phone call at Mobos Hotel from Guru Prasad saying Baba's calling. We are ready, I am ready. I don't wait for anybody, nobody waits for anybody. We just walk down and go to Guru Prasad. So that's how we were called, twice or thrice a week in the mornings. We are not talking about the afternoons we spent in the central hall, which was roughly this size. So the first day, the Dada Chanjis and the others, they go to Baba. They are in Guru Prasad. They are in the Mandali hall, which normally sat 30 people, 25 to 30 people. So Baba is asking Rhoda, anyone else came with you? And Rhoda's husband's name was Jim. So Rhoda says, Baba, Jim is here, my boys are here. She has 3 boys. Baba, my boys are here. Baba said, anyone else came with you? And the second time she says, Baba, we are all here. We are all here. The third time Baba says, the lady at the gate, Baba is saying, he's in a small room. He's in a small room. The lady at the gate, is she not with you? Has she not come with you? What happened in the intervening time was, we were not called, we were not there. So Mom and the 3 of us, we walked down. We are at the gate. We are at Guru Prasad gate. Mom's craning her neck to see if she can see Baba on the veranda. So that is the time Baba's telling Rhoda Mistry, the lady at the gate, is she not with you? And Rhoda Mistry understood what Baba's trying to suggest. Baba is meaning Khurshid Khan. She said, sorry Baba, I'm really sorry, I didn't get you, I didn't understand you. Yes, I brought a friend of mine with her 3 young kids. She's a widow and she's quite disappointed with life. The next time I call you, the next time you come, bring her along. So we fast forward again. The next time we are on the veranda of Guru Prasad. The door is shut. The Mandali room door is shut. And there are quite a small crowd, 25 to 30 of us, outside waiting for the door to open so that we could walk in. And one thing was told to my mom is, you do not touch Meher Baba, you do not touch at his feet, you do not fall at his feet, you do not give a hug to Baba, just be natural, just be with him, that's it. So mom knew that she's not supposed to be touching Baba. But this door is shut, there are 25 to 30 of us, and mom in her mind's eye, what she had thought was that this is going to be a private audience. That mom is going to be with her kids and Meher Baba in her room. That's how she had mentally prepared herself to see Meher Baba for the first time. And here there are 25 to 30 all wanting to get in and be with Baba. The moment she got disturbed, she's telling herself, I don't want to meet Baba like this. She's telling herself, she's right there at the threshold, about to meet Meher Baba, for whom she waited for quite a while. And yet this lady develops cold feet and says, I don't want to meet Baba like this in front of so many people. She had something in her mind maybe. The door opens, Irach uncle comes at the door and he makes an announcement. Baba wants the first timers to come in first. Baba wants the first timers to come in first. The Khans were the only first timers. Mind you, thereafter I met Baba as Noshawan and the others said, that I met him maybe 100 times, 200 times. I went to Guru Prasad, I went into that Mandli hall. I never saw the door shut, never. I never saw anyone announcing that Baba wants the first timers only to come in. This was the only one-off time when Iraj said that. So we come in, I think Iraj was also inside, the door is shut. So it is Meher Baba, Iraj and my mom and the 3 siblings. The moment the door is here, Baba is seated here, we walk in and Mom walks here, Mom, knowing that she's not supposed to touch Baba. But the moment my mom came forward, Baba opened his arms. Baba opened his arms for my mom. My mom dashed forward. She fell into Baba's arms. Kind of hugged him. Baba clasped his hands. He hugged her tight. And kind of the moment of truth for my mom. She was, as I say in retrospect, she was a choked woman. She was holding back her emotions, not crying on anybody's shoulders for 2 years, 3 years that went past her life. And she was so holding back. She was holding back so much of her emotions and her inner cries that the moment my mom fell into Baba's arms, she just lets go. She just lets go and she cried and she cried and she cried. She didn't cry, she wailed, if you know what I mean. So loudly. And imagine me being 16 years old, my younger sister 13, 14 years old. We were kind of aghast seeing mom in this Baba's hand, hugging him so dearly and crying and crying and crying. And we also were choked, and Baba held my mom for maybe 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes. I don't know how long he held her. And finally, she was exhausted. She was breathing heavy, sighing. And that is when Baba lets go of her. And she was completely kind of drenched, emotionally, mentally, drained out completely. And then the 3 of us, my elder sister Dinah first, then me, and then Bepsi, we hugged Baba one after the other. Now this hug that I had more than 55 years back, I'm talking about 1960, and I hugged Baba, his white Malmal Sadra, and maybe it's 55 years for you guys, but at night I pray, at night I meditate, and I go to the Mandli Hall of Meherabad. I go to the Mandli Hall of Mehraza. And Baba seated in the chair and I hug him. And that hug is the same. That after 55 long years, for me time just does not matter. As if I am right there in 1960 and I'm hugging. I still feel that sadra, I still feel his shoulders, I still feel his back. It's Baba's grace that I hang on to that embrace that Baba gave us. So the 3 of us meet one after the other. My mom is still wiping her tears with a hanky. Baba's telling Mom, you will not worry for them. They are mine, I will look after them. Baba said, they are mine. From today they are mine, I will look after them. You will not worry about them. And Mom said, thank you, Baba. So thereafter, Baba's looking at my 2 sisters. They were as skinny as I am today also. So he does like this and he tells Iraj uncle to go over and call Goher. You all know Goher was a physician, she was a medical person. So Goher comes in from the women's side and she says, yes, Baba. And Baba looks at my sisters again, Dinah and Bepsi, and he says, check them medically, examine them, and come back and tell me about it. All knowing, infinitely knowing, yet he feigned that he didn't know anything, that he didn't know whether these girls were good enough, healthy or not. Well, this is how Baba behaved. He was the best poker player on earth. Meher Baba was the best poker player on earth. He was so innocent. He was so innocent. He didn't know anything. He just didn't know anything. He behaved as if he didn't know. Anyway, so Goel says, yes, Baba. And Baba tells my mom, you also go, you also go. So for the first time in the summer of 60, my mom and my two sisters, they go to the women's side and they meet starting from Meramai, Rano, Manianti, Khorshid, Naja, Goher, Katie, everyone, all those, the women of those days, for the first time, they go and greet them, meet them. And after a while, they come back. By the time the door is open, everybody comes in and sits down. And Dr. Goel says, Baba, they're okay, they're fine, they're healthy children. Baba says, I'm happy, sit down. So now what does a 16-year-old young man see there on the first day? We call it tryst with destiny. That there's someone here, there's someone in this room who's so compassionate, who's so outgoing. First of all, he breaks his own rule of not allowing anyone to touch or whatever. He himself throws his arms open for this woman. He hugs her as long as she wants to be in his arms. Then let's go off her. That's point number one. And then meets three of us. Then he tells my mom, don't worry, they are mine. I'll look after them. So there is this kind of outpouring, giving himself up. And he's saying that, don't worry, I will look after your children, caring for us. And then caring for my sister's health, that how are they, telling my mom eventually that your daughters are fine, everything is fine. And then we sit down. So it was that one morning, but a lasting morning for a lifetime for the Khan family. So we sit down. Now how did it go, this sitting down business? Baba would sit on a chair. He was the only one naturally who sat on a chair. It was a small room, 25 to 30 people holding. The ladies sat on the right, the men sat on the left, and Erachankal would sit at his feet to translate the gestures. So that was our first day. I take you back next year. This is the first year. Now I'm in my college, in a business school. And Erachankal and Mani Aunty would read the English correspondence. They would look after the English correspondence. And Bauji, who was a Hindu, a Maharashtrian, who would look after the Hindi and the Marathi correspondence. So that's how it worked. And as the correspondence came, Erachankal in his spare time would open the inland letters, the closed letters, the telegrams. He has read them, he has gone through them, so he knows the contents of the letter. All these letters are open. So he comes with a pile. Every time he would come with a pile of letters. He seated at Baba's feet, and after the pleasantries are exchanged, like Nos explained to us at great length as to how are you and how did you sleep well, did you eat well, what's the problem, did you go to the doctor, I told you, what did he say? So all this small talk goes on, people are at ease, they are made to sit at ease. And then Baba's asking Eraj, okay, let's get on with the correspondence. So he goes through the two letters. He never had a pad and a pen in his hand. He just mentally registers whatever Baba says through gestures, and in his spare time he would reply. So the third letter, and Erachankal is telling Baba, Baba, Jimmy has written a letter. And I am 6 feet away from Baba. And we had this pleasure, we always had this pleasure of sitting not further than 6 feet away from Baba. Not the closest I've sat, I'll come later, but not further unless we were in the central hall. In the central hall, we sat a little away, but that's it. So that's how it went. So I'm right there, and Baba seated, and what have you written? So I say, Baba, I want to be a pilot. You want to fly? You want to be a pilot? Okay, read. So Era Jungle goes through the letter, he reads the letter. And in this I've written that I want to be a pilot and it will cost so much, etc. And my mother is stunned. My mother is stunned. What has this idiot done? What has he written to Baba? We are not supposed to write to Baba. Anyway, so mom is stunned and the letter is read and I'm 17 and there are these top guns who are in their 50s and 60s and 70s. So one of them says, Baba, don't encourage him. He doesn't know what he's saying. He's just a small lad. Don't say yes to him. And then the other guy, next guy says, Baba, don't encourage. She's a single mother, she's a widow, and he's a young guy, doesn't know what he's talking. Please, don't encourage him. She'll be hurt, etc. And your lovers have crashed and they have died. Some of his lovers have died in air crash. And there's this third guy who takes my side. And he says, Baba, what's wrong? What's wrong? The planes don't crash every day. I mean, if he wants to be a pilot, let him be a pilot. Why not, Baba? Why stop him? So Baba is very animate. You got to imagine one thing. We mostly didn't think he was silent. His eyes, his expressions, and his fingers, these three things did the job for him, covered up for his silence. So Baba, is that so? Is that so? So he's kind of absorbing what these three guys are telling Baba. And then he looks at my mom and said, don't say a word. You don't say a word. You are his mother. You are his mother and you are tight-lipped and these guys are putting in their 2 Ps unwanted, unsolicited. So mom tells Baba, now remember, please listen. Mom tells Baba, Baba is yours. Baba is yours. If you say yes, it's yes from me. Baba, if you say no, it's no from me. The first day Baba said, they're yours, Mom had taken it very seriously. As a mother, she did everything for us, I must say. But emotionally, she must have understood that now I will not have to worry for them. He is their father. He will take care. So Baba is very pleased with this answer. Baba says, I'm very happy what you said. And Baba looks at me and says, you're very skinny. To be a pilot, you got to be strong. You got to have a good constitution. What else can you do? He didn't say no to me, mind you. He didn't say no to me. He just said, what else can you do? And I was already in business school, so I said, Baba, I'll do CA. Now in the US, you call it CPA, but in India, we follow the British system, so we say CA, Chartered Accountant. So the moment I said, Baba, I'll do CA, Baba said, he was very happy. He said, very good, very good. Then Baba seated on a chair with arms. So he puts his hands on the arms and he does like this. So Erachankal is here, he's translating. And Erachankal said, Baba's saying that you'll sit on a big chair, people will respect you. And people do respect me for whatever it is worth that I'm a CA. The moment I'm introduced, the very next sentence is, meet Jimmy Khan, he's a chartered accountant. Baba's words, you'll be respected. So that's how I'm introduced. And lastly, I will not translate, I'll leave it to your judgment. Lastly, Baba said, he did. So this Joe is a CPA in front of you. That's what I do for putting bread and butter on my table. So this is me. This is it. So this is my story of how Baba made a way for me. He looked up for my career as well. So this is it. I take you next year. Give me a second, please. Next year, around same time, summertime, and we would, quite a number of, how do I say that I met Meher Baba more than 100 times? I'm sure it is much more than 100. Now you got to imagine in your mind's eye, one summer which is 2 months. We are there for 2 months. Roughly thrice a week, Baba calls us in the morning. And every Sunday afternoon, there's a big meeting in the central hall. Now we've got to multiply this by 8 weeks and a number of summers that we went to Pune. So if you put this together, East-West gathering, the 65 gathering, so all put together, I'm sure roughly more than 200 times that I've been with Meher Baba. So okay, we come to next year, summertime, Meher Baba time, Mumbo's Hotel time, Guru Prasad time, and the exam result time. That's when you get your results. And I'm at Mumbo's Hotel. There are youngsters who are in school, colleges, and my result is announced. I was in the second year of my university. 74% of the students failed. 74% of the students in that class failed, and I was in the majority. I failed, and I felt so bad. I'm not at home in front of so many Baba lovers, so many youngsters who have passed in their exams, and I felt so bad. I felt so miserable. I started crying. at Mumbo's Hotel, and the word goes to Baba that Jimmy has failed in his exam and he's crying. So Baba says, send him over. So I go to Guru Prasad. That was not that morning when we were called. It was one of those off days. So I go to Guru Prasad, and I'm directed to go in the central hall. Normally we go in the monthly room. I'm directed in the central hall. And I'm wondering why central hall. Baba is seated in the central hall. There's a dining table there. And Baba is seated. Dr. Goher is there. And I enter the room, and Baba says, sit down. So I sit down on the carpet, and he's asking me about what happened, etc. And I say, Baba, economics paper was extremely tough, very unusual paper, and I must have failed in economics paper. And if you fail in one subject, you failed the whole year. And you repeat the whole year, one full academic year. So I lost out fully one full year. So we are talking about, and Dr. Goyer is translating about my studies, etc. And someone's calling Dr. Goyer either from the pantry or the women's rooms, and she excuses herself. She goes out, and in the central hall, Meher Baba and Jimmy Khan, just the two of us. And this doesn't happen, normally. When people tell you, you'll meet people will tell you that I've been with Meher Baba. Try to understand that what that person is meaning is he, Meher Baba, and one of the mandlis that translates the gestures. Here, Dr. Goher is gone. I am with Meher Baba. And I'm seated, and Baba does one gesture. You must understand that Baba's fingers flew, literally flew. His gestures were so fast. So once he does, I say, sorry, Baba. He does it for the second time for me. I'm sure he did it a little slower, like an idiot. I didn't get it. I think Baba did it for the third time. And I thought to myself, this Christ is trying to tell me something, and I tell him, I don't get you. I have caught words, one word here, one word here, one word here, out of the hundreds and the thousands of gestures I saw Baba doing, but never a sentence. And I said, Baba, I'm very sorry, I can't get you. Baba said, never, get up. So I get up, and in front of him, summertime, mango time, slices of mangoes in a plate. So Baba lifts one slice of mango. Baba gives it to me, and I sit down holding the mango like this. I sit down, and me and Meher Baba, just the two of us in this whole wide world, just the two of us, nobody around. After a while, Goher comes. Baba tells us something. She tells me something to do with, look after your studies, I will help you. And thereafter, Baba gave 300 rupees to my mom for my special coaching. Out of this 300, mom was wise. One 10 rupee note she's saved for posterity. I recently, 2-3 months back, I saw this 10 rupee note. The family has the 10 rupee note. Apart from so many other things that we have, Baba's artifacts, we have that 10 rupee note that Baba had given for my education. Now, I look at it this way. This is my calling. You may agree, disagree. This, according to me, was orchestrated by Meher Baba. My failure, my repeating one full year, orchestrated by Meher Baba in the sense that if I failed, I would cry. If I cried, Baba would call me. If Baba called me, Gohar, who is stepped aside by Baba, knowingly, this is all Baba's drama. I look at it this way, I may be wrong. And here it's me and Meher Baba, and giving me the pleasure of being with him for 3 to 4 minutes. But is that all? Is that all? Is it just that he wanted me? I don't think it ended there. I think it began there in the sense there was something that Baba wanted to give to me, as he gave to Naushirwan. But there was something which at your and my level we will never understand. But he wanted to tell me something, he wanted to give me a gift, he wanted to convey to me that the day will come in your life when you will go around the globe talking about me. And that's how I'm here today talking about Meher Baba in front of you. I've done it a number of times, and I'm doing it today and now as well. So maybe he said that you will go and talk about me, talk about how I lived with the human beings. People will come who have never been with me, so you are my representative. You will go and tell them how things went about. So maybe that, but it was a trade-off. 1 year which I lost, my university year, I don't even remember that. I don't even care for that. But around the globe I tell everyone that I spent time with Meher Baba. And why it is so important for me is I've gone around right from the east coast of Australia to the west coast of the United States, thanks to the Talbots. What are the Talbots? Thanks to the Talbots, they have hosted me twice on the west coast, sponsored me. So I've been talking, and I've met a few thousand Baba lovers during these last 55 years, and I've been very close to Baba lovers, and I've come across barely 15 Baba lovers, barely, who have told me that they have spent time with Meher Baba all alone. You can imagine what it means. You can imagine what it means. That out of thousands, a few handful have been with Meher Baba all alone. And the Khan family is so blessed. Out of this 10, 15, 2 of them have been my mom and my sister. 2 of them. So that makes 3 of us. And the story goes that once Baba didn't, the family didn't stay at Mubaz Hotel. They stay at a place called Jamnagar House. And Baba was invited for tea. And a few were invited. My mom and sister were invited. So mom and sister were also at Jamnagar House. And it was around tea time. And someone comes and tells Baba in his ear that, Baba, it's tea time and people can go in the next room and enjoy tea. So Baba tells everyone, have tea, go there, enjoy yourself. And everybody rushes for tea. And mom and Bepsi, my younger sister, they were seated at the back. And mom realized that if I also go, then Baba will be all alone. There was no Manli there, mind you. There was no Manli. Just Meher Baba and a few. So mom told Bepsi, stay back, stay put. So everybody goes, mom and Bepsi are alone with Meher Baba. Baba said, you didn't go? You didn't go? And mom said, Baba, if we also go, you'll be all alone in the room. Baba said, come forward, come sit. And my mom, my sister and Meher Baba in this room. And my sister was still very young. And Baba's asking my sister, between me and your mom, who do you love more? You know that mommy daddy thing? That natural mommy daddy thing? And my sister says, Baba, I love you more. You heard? You heard? I was telling my mom, you heard what she said? And my mom said, Baba, I'm very pleased. I'm very happy that she said that she loves you more. Baba did like this and said, okay, now you can go and have your tea. So the second time Baba said they have to respect Baba. So they walk over and they go and enjoy themselves. So that is how my sister and mom have also met Meher Baba. I take you to another summertime. Now it's time over for Meher Baba and the Manli to move back to Meherzad. And I was one of those who were the Khans, naturally. Few of us were invited to say goodbye to Meher Baba. So here I am walking. I'm at the entrance of Guru Prasad and I'm walking inside to say goodbye to Meher Baba. And there are these 3 local women who are at the gate. And they were not invited, so they don't come in, they stand at the gate. And I was young, and when you are young, you are crazy. So I get this egoistic idea that I'm one of those close ones, I'm one of the insiders, that I'm invited to say goodbye to Baba and they are not invited. Anyway, so I walk in, and Baba is on the veranda this time. Normally we would go inside. But Baba is on the veranda, the men and the women Mandli are packing bags, packing their parcels, etc. to get out. So we are on the veranda and Baba is seated. I'm one of those who meet Baba first. And naturally, normally the standing orders are not to touch his feet, not to meet, just say hello or whatever, but not to touch his feet. So I remember I had some loose flowers in my hand, so I put loose flowers at Baba's feet and I move on. And a few moved on, greeted Baba and moved on. One guy touched Baba's feet, just accidentally, innocently, whatever. He touches Baba's feet and Baba said, you don't know the order, you're not supposed to touch my feet. And this man was kind of taken aback. He said, Baba, I'm very sorry, please forgive me, I'm really sorry, I didn't know that I shouldn't be touching your feet. Baba said, never mind. And he lets the others who came in after. Baba said, now the order is broken, so you can all touch my feet. So I'm here, I'm an insider, I'm the family, I have not touched Baba's feet. And so everyone comes and everybody touches Baba's feet, puts their head, and I'm with my mouth open. And to add salt to the wound, these 3 ladies who are the locals, then someone told Baba that, Baba, there's a crowd at the door, at the gate. They also want to say goodbye to you. Baba said, send them in, come. So these 3 ladies also come in. They also put their head on Baba's. I said, you know, what Baba has done, Nosuvan touched upon very poignant thing, namely ego. He dwelt on ego. If there's one reason why Baba came down on earth, according to me, is to crush our egos. According to me, ego is the only thing that inhibits us from going to our journey where we belong. Our ego comes in our way. So I'm a human being, I'm a man. I have my moments of ego. So what Baba does to me is, first he turns me into dust at his feet, and thereafter he does like this. Every time in my life I've observed this. Any moment where your head goes somewhere high, immediately, it's not next day, the third day, right there in front of the people, he puts you where you belong. So I've learnt my lesson. So there I am. And then Baba says, those who had met Baba the first time before this happened, they were here. So Baba said, you can also come now and touch my feet or whatever. So I'm one of the last ones to have touched Baba's feet. So a lesson, you always learn a lesson. Now something very, very beautiful happened. Baba's nephew, Sohrab Rustam's elder brother Sheru, who has passed on, Baba seated here, Sheru is here, and I am here. And Baba's telling Sheru, remember, get it in your thick skull that I am God. Baba said, get it that I am God. He didn't get it. He didn't get it. I'm here and I caught it. I caught Baba's sentence, I am God. And immediately I'm telling Sheru, the Sheru Baba is saying, I am God. Immediately Baba looked at me, then he looks at Sheru and said, you heard that? You heard that? Get it in your skull that I am God. So let me first say how it happened. This is I, this is A, this is M, this is G, this is O, and this is D. I, M, G, O, D. He must have done very fast. Now let's look at it this way, that I've seen Baba doing gestures through the 60s, a few thousand gestures, literally a few thousand gestures. I got not a single sentence right. But, hold it, but I got, I am God. It doesn't matter to me if this sentence is of Baba I didn't get. But I got the highest sentence that Baba could himself do for himself, saying, I am God. So, for the rest of my life, for the past so many years, I've been so happy that I've translated Baba's gesture, I am God. So, that has been my day. We come to playing games with Baba, La Risque. These are French words, La, R-I-S-Q-U-E, means the risk, the risk. And I take you back to the Mandli Hall, the Mandli room in Mehrabad, and the women are asked to move over. They go to the women's side, and as I'm narrating in one of my talks, someone said, that's not fair. That's not fair. Why would Baba ask the women to move out? You know, the women's leap thing. Why Baba would ask women to move out and play the game only with men? And let's look at it this way, that the women Mandli wanted some time with those who had come, the women, and so on. Same for the women who had come. They also wanted to spend some time with the women Mandli. So it was a win-win for all. So the women are in the women Mandli side. Then Baba seated in the chair. We make a kind of a horseshoe, and you got to have even number. Yes, you have to have an even number. If there's an odd number, then one of the Mandli will step back and will go and sit at the wall. So there we are, let's say 24, 26, 30 of us. Then the deck of cards is pulled out, and one of the jokers is moved out, so there's only one joker in this deck of cards. And Baba is, let's say, in team A. So Baba and every alternate person is in team A, and from the person left, every alternate person thereafter is team B. So you have an even number, you have team A and team B. It's a team game, so you play team A and team B. And everybody's on the carpet, so all the cards are thrown on the carpet. You need some two guys to be on their fours, to gather the cards, put them straight, shuffle them. So either Sorab and Rustam would sit on Baba's right and left, and they would do the job. If they are not around, Mehrwan Mistry on the left and Jimmy Khan on the right. So I've sat on Baba's right here. I could have touched Baba's Sadra. Seated there, I could have touched Baba's Sadra. So close, maybe a foot away from Baba. So there I am. And then I was good at shuffling cards, so I would normally take the cards. I would shuffle the cards, give half the deck to Mehrwan, I take half the deck. And either Mehrwan would start giving to Baba or I would. We would take kind of turns. So I'm giving 2 or 3 cards to Baba, and I'm there. I'm looking at Baba. And Baba looks at the cards and, what kind of dirty cards you gave him? I must have given him some 2, 4, 5. So Baba throws. In the meantime, Mirwan has moved on. He has given cards to a few. So if Baba throws the cards down, everybody else has to throw the cards. So we are on our fours, Mirwan and I, gathering cards, collecting cards, putting them together. And I was 17, 18, 19, and there are these guys. So I remember Nariman Dadachandji saying, yeah, then Baba did this sign to me. Baba did this sign. Did you have a bath today? I said, yes, Baba, I had my bath today. And so Nariman Dadachandji says, you shuffle better, shuffle. Yeah, he said, this is how you give cards to Baba. Now I gave cards to Baba. So anyway, so the second time I give cards to Baba, I'm standing there. Okay, move on. So I move on, we start playing the game. Now, since there are two teams, one team loses and one team wins. Now what happens to the team that loses? Well, you have to do some penance, if I may use the right word. So what is that penance for the losing team? And normally the team which was not in Baba's side lost. It so once happened that Baba said, who's got the joker? And if one of his teammates said that Baba, I've got the joker, Baba would say, hang on. But if someone else had the joker, now this time I had the joker. So I say, yes, Baba, I got the joker. Baba said, then I get up, I come here, I hand over joker to him. He gives me 2, 3, 4. So I take it and I sit down. Another thing, if Baba had the joker, he would ask, who else has the ace of spade? Now in India, ace of spade is the next highest card. So if one of his teammates said, Baba, I'm in your team, I've got ace of spade. The moment he said that, Baba would throw the cards down. Why? Because the two highest cards are in his team. Why do you play the game? Why waste time? So he throws the cards, everybody else throws the cards, and we start all over again. Now this losing team has to rub nose on the carpet, and the winning team is all glee, all happy, and they are shouting, Giso, Giso. Giso means in Hindi or Gujarati, Giso means to rub, just to rub. So we are rubbing our nose on the carpet. It turns red, kind of. So, and everybody is having good time. We are enjoying ourselves. And the story goes that there was one Mr. Rao who was obstinate, let me put it mildly, and he would not want to rub his nose. So, on one occasion, Sorab and Rustam, that is young guys, teenagers, pinky cheeks and tough guys, very tough young boys. So they are on either side of this Rao. So he's not rubbing his nose. So this Sorab and Rustam, they grab him from the neck. They press him on the carpet, and what these brothers are from either side. And this poor guy is, and Baba, stop it. Baba had great time. You got to imagine, we are laughing and giggling, and with Lord Christ, we are enjoying ourselves. And at the same time, what are we doing? What are we doing? Are we just rubbing our nose? Physically, yes. Spiritually, it goes much beyond that. We are rubbing our sanskaras, our negative sanskaras, our evil sanskaras. We are just rubbing them off in front of Lord Mayor, in front of the avatar of the age, laughing and giggling and in good cheer, good spirits. We are doing this. Everybody is happy. In the outside world, if you do that, you got to go through hell to rub off your good evil sanskaras. You either balance them with good sanskaras or you pay for them. But here we are doing something which is very different. And Mirwan once asked his grandpa, why do you end up sitting in the loser's side? You always end up rubbing your nose. So the grandpa explains to his grandchild that, son, this is what I'm doing. Mirwan was young, in teenage or my age. So that is how grandpa explains to him what the significance is of rubbing nose. Now what happens is, people might ask, those who are not initiated into Meher Baba, they would make fun of Baba or ask that, did Meher Baba come to play games and play cards? or did he come for something better than that? And the answer is, did he entertain himself? The answer is yes, and something else. Yes, because Baba was, you all know, Baba was burdened with spiritual work, universal work, taking on suffering of everybody. So he needed some venting out. So he was entertaining himself. Yes, in that sense, let's say yes. But spiritually speaking, what happens when you play cards? When you play cards at a club or house, your focus, your energies, your mind is on the cards, is on the table. Everybody, the world outside is lost to you. The world outside is lost to you. You've forgotten. And you're focusing on the card. So Baba is using this focused energy of these 20, 30 people. He is doing his work. Now someone might raise and say, if Baba is omnipotent and omnipresent and all-knowing, all-powerful, why would he need this motley 20 people's energy to do his work? Well, twofold. It helped him doing his work, and it helped us also, because spiritually, because we helped him, he kind of helped us. Now this, according to me, is at the lowest level. Let's go one step higher. Baba went to the theater to see movies. He sent his Mandli, and the Mandli sat through the movie and they enjoyed the whole movie. But when Baba went for a movie, now imagine there are 150, 200 people sitting in that small theater. 150, 200 people, their focus is on the stage, on the screen. They are looking at the movie. Imagine 200 people's focused energy on the screen. Baba is using that energy to do his work. The moment his work is done, Baba will tap someone on one of the mandli on the right and say, let's go. So everybody has to go. Now once it so happened that something was very interesting on the screen, and Erach uncle is telling Baba, 1 minute, just 1 minute, hold on. Now the moment Erach uncle said, Baba, 1 minute, the lights went off. Baba is not going to wait for 1 minute, for anyone, not even for Erach uncle, for anyone. His work is done, he goes. Baba came to Mumbai, he came to Bribond Stadium. Now Bribond Stadium sits 30,000 people in those days, and Baba is there. 30,000 human beings, their energies are concentrated, focused on the crease in the center. Imagine the charge, imagine 30,000 people's charge. Baba is using this 30,000 people's charge to do his work. The moment it is done, Baba taps the person and they move up, they go up. He's done his work. He's used these 30,000 people's energies and he's gone. So that's how Meher Baba worked. Just, I have maybe 5 minutes, Nosh? Okay. This is 1962, East-West gathering. Normally the Khans was spoilt, in the sense we would sit very close to Baba, 3 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet away. East-West gathering, thousands of people in the backyard of Guru Prasad. And somebody came up, we were very far, very far. Somebody came up in my mom's crazy brain, and she said, we were so far off, she said to herself, she knew Meher Baba's divinity. There was no question in her mind, absolutely not. But she says to herself, if Meher Baba is the God, if Meher Baba is really the God, he should call me. Now, Noshiron was called. Now, why on earth, if there are thousands of people around, why on earth would Khorshid Khan be called? There's no reason, there's no logic, there's no rationale. And in no time, Baba seated here, there's this public announcement, and someone announces from the public system, Khorshid Khan, you are wanted in Guru Prasad. My mom's name was called out. My mom's name was called out. Amongst thousands, Khorshid Khan, you are wanted in Guru Prasad. Presto.